Yashiki-kun is so hot. I want him as my little brother. Hey guys, it's me, Ann.
Only a noob would start hustling now. Hey guys, it's me, Justin.
Welcome to another episode of Otaku Toku, everyone. This time around, we're going to be talking about Tonkatsu DJ Agetarō. How about you tell us a little bit of the background of the show, Justin?
Yeah, so the manga was written by Yuppie and illustrated by Yujiro Koyama. The anime was produced by Studio Dean, and the anime series was directed by Agetarō Daishi. So Yuppie doesn't have an online presence that I could find, but Yujiro Koyama, he is actually on Instagram and Twitter, so I was able to actually get a better idea in his from reading his own tweets and Instagram posts. And I didn't realize this, but Yojiro Koyama actually had a viral video picture, and it's the Jonah Hill pillows. I don't know if you ever saw those, but it's just a pillow of Jonah Hill's head. And I guess he was responsible. Yeah. I guess he was responsible with this, helping design that. And so if you go to his Instagram, which is Yojiro Roro, that's YUJIRO. I definitely say check it out because you can see his original art there. You can see Jonah Hill holding one of the pillows, which is really, I thought was kind of cool. The other, so I couldn't find anything on Yuppie, which makes me believe that Yujiro Koyama is Yuppie, maybe writing underneath a pseudonym. I couldn't find any interviews with Yuppie. I couldn't find any really references to him, which kind of led me to that conclusion. I might be wrong though, and I just didn't dig hard enough. But there is a lot of stuff from Yojiro Koyama, and I gotta say I'm actually a big fan of his art. His art style is very similar to the series that we watched. He is said to an article on Cobalt magazine, which is English. You can just go to it. It's an art magazine. He's quoted as saying, "When I draw, I always try to remember the sense of innocence that children drawings have." And so, and you can see a lot of his stuff. It's really good. If it's not like the traditional anime stuff that we're used to seeing. So to the Studio Dean, which is the anime house that produced it, they actually have been going on for a long time, and you've definitely seen something made by them. I think the big standout for me that they put out was that of, what was it called again? Log Horizon, and they also did the Seven Deadly Sins Dragon's Judgment, as well, I believe, as the Seven Deadly Sins anime. And there's one more, Junji Ito Collection. So you've definitely seen, I'd hope, some of their stuff. And then to the director Agetarō Daichi, he has a lot of works credited as a director. Some of he actually has one big one that stood out to me. I was like, oh, okay. Fruits Basket. He did Fruits Basket. He directed that original anime series. So if you've ever gone into a middle school library, you've seen that manga. In 2018, this isn't a good quick fact. This is kind of like, in 2018, director Agetarō Daichi was actually involved with a sexual harassment allegations from voice actress Hiroku Konoshi. So the allegations pretty much proposed by her said that her manager proposed that to her that she enter a mixed bathhouse in the nude with the director Agetarō Daichi. She refused, but because of that, she hasn't been able to get any voice acting work. And if you go to her IMDb, her last voice acting credit was in 2004, and it was for, I think, a port of a video game. So who knows if when she actually recorded for that game, but she was credited for it. It's 2004 release.
That's pretty wild. So anyways, let's talk about the story of the show. Well, the story is about Agetarō. He worked at his dad's Tonkatsu shop, and one night while making a delivery of Tonkatsu, Agetarō gets invited into a club where he is mesmerized by the performance of a legendary DJ, Big Master Fry, and this inspires him to take teachings of his father's Tonkatsu shop and apply them to becoming the greatest DJ. And yeah, that's pretty much the whole show. Him just learning the ways of a DJ and applying, like, going back and forth to applying the tonkatsu stuff to like DJing and DJing to tonkatsu stuff. So how about we go down and talk about like the characters? I guess the characters that we can actually talk about, because I'm pretty sure we can't really talk about, like, you know, the sister or,
Right.
or like the mom and all that.
So the episodes are 8 minutes long each. There's only 12 episodes. And so there's not really a lot of time given for character development, which isn't bad in this case. It's the story moves at such a fast pace, and they give you so much within 8 minutes that they'll introduce a character, and that character probably has like 2 to 3 minutes screen time. And the first person I can think of is the Mamoru, or even heck, the main character's mother. Like, I think she's like in it less than a minute altogether.
Yeah.
So there's the main character. I call him I just will refer to him as Aiee. I can't say his whole name. And then of course there's a sister, and that's another character that you don't really see too much about. The big ones are just Aiee, his father, DJ Oily, who's kind of Aijee's mentor, and I would say Oshibori, who I would say the anime kind of made it seem like him and Aiee were acquaintances, that they developed a friendship over DJing, and then really that's it. Those are the most consistent characters in the entire show, are those three.
But then I think Big Master Fry, that DJ, it's weird. Sometimes he pops up out of nowhere as like a spirit to talk to him, and I'm like, is this like, so in this show is this like all in his imagination with like the DJ talking to him and all that, or is this like we're supposed to believe like, oh yeah, he's actually talking to him, like especially during the very first episode, where even though he's in the middle of playing, even though the DJ's Big Master Fry's in the middle of playing a show, he's able to like speak directly at Aiee, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So plot twist, he's actually schizophrenic. That's it's all in his head. He wasn't talking to him at all.
He became a DJ because all these like fucking hallucinations and shit.
Yeah, the music, the music knocked something loose in his head, and he became...
And then I think another character is important is Mizukuro, the record shop owner, who's like scared of him. I think he was pretty important. At least the first half of the show. But
yeah, he kind of disappears, but he introduces like a lot. He's the one that he sees Aiee kind of like digging, record digging, and he realizes like he has like that DJ vibe.
Yeah.
And so there's like a lot of or not a lot, I say a lot. There's some inner dialogue that kind of like makes us think under his impression, because he's been around for so long, that Aiee has some sort of God-given gift to be a DJ.
I think that's the best way to put that.
I was gonna say, before we like dig in to the show in whole, did you learn anything from it? I'm just curious. There's like, because I'm not surprised that a manga was so accurate in a lot of things, especially when they were talking about, I think they referred to 33 and 45. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's something that you actually have to know about, which is just the rotations per minute. And I mean, was there anything that you took away from it, or like, oh, that's So that's how they do that.
Yeah, yeah. I think I took away a lot from the show, like, cause like the main reason why I want to start watching this show is because like I always thought the concept of being a DJ was interesting, so I always wanted to watch a show that kind of like teaches you those kind of things, and then also be entertaining at the same time while like having these where you get to like see all these characters interact and all that. And some then the stuff they teach you is pretty interesting, like about how important it is to like do cutting and scratching and long mixes and short mixes. And oh yeah, it's important to like find connections between the songs that you play when you're doing a DJ. And then
Right.
and like it's important to not only play songs that the crowd would like, but that you would like as well when you're playing at shows. And I think it's funny, but it's kind of, I think it kind of helps out that Aggie does this, where he always kind of like connects the stuff he does with food with like DJing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like whenever he'd be all like, "Oh, I got this. I got like loosen up the crowd, just like how I have to loosen up meat before like heating things up, stuff like that." And like how he said like the short mixes are kind of like a skewer with like different types of meat mixed together, you know. And when he says those things, it's funny, but also like it kind of helps you like understand more like what he's talking about, like what these things mean.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I there's a lot of stuff in there that I knew, but there's a lot of stuff. I guess more phrasings and stuff that I wasn't too familiar with. The big standout one for me is the long and short mixes. I didn't realize like that how big of a thing that was in DJing, and they explain it like what the difference is between them, and it explains it in a way that I could understand really well.
Yeah, yeah.
I would say if you have any interest in it, or in DJing. I mean, it's not like a tutorial or anything like that, but if you have an interest in DJing, this is like a pretty cool thing, because it kind of teaches you to how to connect something that you are familiar with to something new, because that's what AG does. Is his father's been slowly training him to become or take over the restaurant in the future, and how he realizes, oh hey, reminds me of when I cut the cabbage.
Yeah.
Or digging is like when I dig in when I try to find the pickled vegetables.
Yeah. I feel like every episode is kind of like that at a certain point, where every episode kind of teaches you something new about DJing, and then he always like references it, something from food that like connects the two of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely.
So I thought that was pretty interesting. And then like since this whole show is about like DJing, the most important thing about DJing is like the music. So what do you think about like the music in the show?
I really liked it. I just wish there was more variety, I think was my big thing. I love the music. It reminded me of Jet Set Radio, but after you get maybe like around the 5th or 6th episode, you kind of start realizing, oh, they're just kind of recycling the same music, and that might be because of a limited budget. It's not a strike on itself. It's more of me wishing that there was. I like this music. I want to hear more of it versus hearing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I like how almost I feel like it's every episode where every episode starts with that one song. You know what song I'm talking about, and it's like the very first song.
It's like the theme
plays.
song, yeah.
Yeah, and then I realized like some of the songs they play randomly throughout the show. Some of the DJs actually start playing at their show, like that whole rainy song. Like you hear like a version of it way before like AG starts playing at his first show, and I didn't realize that until I watched the show again. And I thought that was pretty neat.
I didn't even catch that at all.
Yeah.
Nah.
I guess since like you said, each episode is like 8 minutes, and they kind of like go through like the whole story pretty quickly. Like, what'd you think about every episode being that short? Like, you think that was like the right amount of time?
I mean, I think that was the perfect time considering that this was a comedy. Uh, I feel like it kind of takes that Adult Swim approach,
Hmm.
in that sense because you it's more packed with joke after joke after joke versus like when you watch some comedy movies, like let's say like a Judd Apatow comedy movie where
Hmm.
it's a joke, time, seriousness, drama, joke, and it's just I when I watch a comedy, I just want I want to be on that roller coaster, actually laughing and kind of like being entertained by it. I don't like that breakdown, so I thought the 8 minutes was great, and it also like I felt like it also really helped drive the story, uh, really fast.
Yeah, yeah,
To the point where by the end of the series, I'm like, God dang, I wish there was more of this.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Exactly.
that that was the big thing. I do feel like it they tried to do some arching storylines that didn't really come to fruition.
Mm.
That kind of got poorly resolved in my opinion, but it might be different
Mm.
for the manga. And the whole thing was like it was kind of set up that there's this DJ Yashiki, um, uh, Eiji becomes jealous of him when he
Mm.
sees him like hanging out with his crush, and uh, it kind of feels like it's like a setup for like this big thing. And honestly, that's what I was expecting. Was like, okay,
Yeah.
he's gonna want to learn so he can win the girl. Not that at all. And uh, I actually kind of like that. The only thing is, they kind of just you forget about that DJ that he was kind of jealous of.
That's
As
true.
soon as he talks to that girl, he's like, oh, she has dreams. So she wasn't like dating him. She was helping
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
Uh, she has dreams.
Mhm. I, the one thing that kind of it's like a nitpick of a show, but I kind of thought it would be cool if he actually talked to her again after that moment. Because like I remember her talking about like that moment she was talking about her in dreams, and then after that she was like, "Oh, so next time we talk, you tell me more about yourself." That never happened. That never happened. I think after that they
Yeah.
never really spoke again. And so I was like, "Oh, that kind of sucks." I wish he actually talked to her again after that, and see
Right.
where that
Yeah.
goes. I guess we can just like kind of like dive in and talk about like what happens in the show. So like where it starts, like we said, Aggie wants to learn how to become a DJ and all that, and then he meets Oily, and Oily becomes like his mentor, teaching him about the DJ stuff, and then uh,
All for the
well,
price of lard. Like
yeah,
that.
I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about like just watching him eat lard all the time. I think at one point, like at their final, I guess we can talk about that later. But basically, like later on, like he just DJ Orley like be like, hey, like, you know what's a good idea? And we just give out small pieces of lard to the people who come to our show so they can eat it.
Well, the dude lives on in like a shack on top of like a building, and something that we completely forgot to go over. Like this is all taking place in Shibuya,
Yeah.
and so like a very very busy part of Tokyo.
Hmm.
He lives in like a homeless person shack. Like I've seen animes where like the homeless people are living in like these parts of like parks in the city and have the same shacks. And so I guess he's homeless, and well,
Hmm.
he pretty much says it because he doesn't have a job.
Yeah. Like the way they can do to sustain himself is by just playing at these shows and then like eating lard and like eating a lot of oil stuff. Like I think the first time you meet Oily, like he talks about how he like get a machine and like drink the oil from it or something like that. Like
Yeah, he has
it's like a
he
friend.
tells him, yeah, because he was so hungry. he he doesn't take care of himself. He doesn't know work personal life balance. Uh
Hmm.
and so one day at work he's working at like a gas or a convenience store, and he chugs the fryer oil.
Mm.
I don't know how he survived that. I assume it messed up his gut.
And then
Uh,
throughout the show, while like the Aggie or whatever, he's like learned to become a DJ. He's trying to help out his family's business. It's most of his father's business because like the family runs like a tonkatsu shop and all that. And you know, most of the time you see like the father just being like pissed at him and like yelling at him like as like, you know, as he's like messing around or screwing up and all that. And I always thought that was funny, just seeing the daddy get mad.
I liked how though after the first episode he's like very serious about his job. Like he's like hardcore. Ag is. He's like, I want to say it's the next episode. You see him cleaning up after everyone, and then he like he goes so hard at it, like he accidentally gives everyone too much food.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
I like how when he became more into DJing, he started getting into his like actually help out the family. Like they go back and forth. Like he's getting better at both.
right, yeah. I well, that DJ Master Fly like speaks to him and says
Mm.
like, "Oh man, you should be grateful you work in a tonkatsu shop because you can be the best DJ in the world if you talk there." And once again, I'm pretty sure that's his schizophrenia talking to him. Like he's obviously having a mental breakdown, and his mind's trying to help him cope with the fact that he's being forced into this life that he doesn't want to live by his father.
Oh god.
He's just it's just him having a mental breakdown, and as you see closely from all of his friends who all are like second or third generation uh in their family's businesses.
Speaking of I guess before I start talking about his friends, last thing I guess you can say I want to say about the father is that I like how like when most shows or like stories or whatever, when the main character is, you know, they gotta help out the family business but they're kind of interested in other things. um I feel like there's always gonna comes to a point where they get confronted by the family being like, hey, I need you to quit, you know, being interested in other things. You gotta like, you know, help with the family business because, you know, it's all about family and all that. And I was kind of waiting for that to happen. Like I was waiting for like the father to like confront him about that, but he never did. Like you just know like the father kind of doesn't like him DJing, but like he never like yells at him and be like, hey, stop that, just, you know, help out the family business. So I like that a lot. Like that never happened.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting that as well, but then you kind of realize like, oh, the family, they all love each other.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
why wouldn't they be like, well, I mean, if you're helping out, it's not like
Yeah,
you're
exactly
going to
that.
school anymore. So if you wanted this to be your hobby, then go for it.
Yeah, I think that helps out too, where he's actually still trying to help out with the family and he's getting better at it. I bet like if he did want to help out any more, that's when like something like that would happen.
Well, I
But
think
like
the big thing with that being said is that he does approach his dad like, hey, I want to learn this and I want to learn this.
yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
want you to teach me how you cut the meat. I think it
Mhm.
was one of the big things because he thought he could apply that to a new DJ skill or something.
Mhm.
Um, um, so I spoke about the friends just a moment ago, and I want to start this about speaking to the friends by just saying like this show made me wish I had better friends. Uh, the show honestly made me wish I had better friends. I have told people before like, oh, I want to do this, and they just laugh in my face. I'm like,
Mhm.
you know, I and being told like, oh, that's what friends do. They bust your balls. He tells his friends, I want to be a DJ, and they're like, how can we help?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I have some speakers that you can have. I got some
Mm.
power. I got some power strips and stuff you can have. And we'll come over and you can play some stuff. We'll tell you how it sounds. I was like, that made me feel so like shit.
Here's a diagram of Japanese railroads. This is what you want, right?
Yeah, except for him, but at least he shows up. He's like, hey, can you guys help
Yeah.
me advertise the my first gig, and he's like, hell yeah, we can. And they go like a step above and beyond, like.
I gotta say, like, yeah, the friends are really supporting of his new hobby
Oh
to
yeah,
the
man.
point.
I had flashbacks. I looked. I was being like, I remember I had asked someone like, "Hey, I'm thinking I kind of want to try stand up," and they're like, "You're not funny. Don't do that. You're not funny." I was like, "Oh, okay." I want to start a band, but you're not good at guitar. You're not really that good. Like, oh, hey, check this out. I've seen better. I've seen better. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. And then I'm watching this, and I was like, oh, I fucked up. I chose the wrong friends. I chose the wrong friend groups.
Because, like you said, like the friends go above and beyond, and it's funny seeing how they actually advertise his first gig. Like it shows them working at their jobs, and they're like, sneaking in the advertisement. Like that one of his friends works at like I think like a bookstore, and when he sold the book to someone, he sneaks the flyer to the gig inside the book. He steals the
Yeah.
person.
Well,
And then
there's the one friend who works at the hotel. He busses in on the like, oh, if you guys should check out this show while you're in town. It's gonna be really cool, I hear.
And then, like, at the end of the episode, you see all his friends like dressing up as like they had like Tonkatsu costumes, and they're like roller
Yeah,
skating around, like advertising the gig.
man. Those are some good friends. This show, that was the big takeaway, is like this show is gonna make you want better friends.
I really liked watching the first gig, like how like when it starts, it's like it's kind of okay, but then at the end it gets like really good. And I thought it
Yeah.
was funny how like there are people like because of the way the friends advertise, like they were trying to help him out by advertising the first gig as like kind of like a DJ show or whatever. But there are people who showed up thinking like, oh, we're coming here to eat tonkatsu, because like the way
Right.
they set the flyer and everything. I thought it was pretty funny because like you had
Yeah.
people at the show be like, oh yeah, we're here to have a good time, listen to music, and then like, you have these other groups of people there being like, hey, where the hell is the tonkatsu at?
Yeah, and then Oily like just somehow knows that something might happen, and he's like, "This
Mm,
is your secret weapon." He gives him like a cassette tape,
yeah.
uh, uh, or recorder, a cassette
Mm-hmm.
recorder, and he's like,
Mm,
"Just play this. This is your secret weapon. Play this." And I just
mm.
I love the idea of because of the transition, because
Yeah.
I haven't been to any DJ sets. I've watched a lot of DJ sets though
Mm,
on
mm,
on YouTube, and that's how it really is sometimes. Like when they have to queue up a new song, they'll do like this like cool like little interlude thing, and I
mm.
loved how they it was supposed to be him combining the sound of a fryer, which brought those people who showed up thinking it was a tonkatsu event
Yeah.
and made them dance, and he combined it with this song called Rainy Rainy.
Yeah.
And there's like this old guy's like, oh, I haven't heard this song in forever, and he goes out on the dance floor and busts a
Yeah.
move.
Yeah. I That's actually the whole moment right there with like him connecting the sound of tonkatsu frying to the raining song. Like I think that's my favorite moment of the show, because I know it was just so cool. Like being like the way they visualize the sound of the oil and the rain together, and then seeing the crowd's reaction, and then seeing Mizokuro. He's actually watching the whole show through the camera, and like
Yeah.
that whole speech he was giving to AG, being all like, remember this moment, remember this feeling, so like that. I thought that was a really cool moment
Yeah, and he
of
also gets
the
an
show.
amazing review written about him, which is like
Yeah.
something, who wouldn't want that to happen? Like he's amazing, this great review. And then something what's funny is like the next episode is the chill out episode, which I thought was uh it's not I wouldn't say it's a throwaway episode, but it is a
Mm.
great filler episode. There's very few shows that have like amazing filler. This
Mm.
really, really, really was one of my favorite episodes. Was the episode, was the sixth one, where he is, I was laughing. It's like,
Like, yeah, because like the whole episode, it was about Eddie learning the term "chill out," because he was at DJ Oiley's show. Like Oiley was playing a set, and the very end of the set, like he was playing like a really chill music because the lesson at the show was that yeah, as a DJ, your job is to like hype the crowd up and make them dance and all that. But at the very end, people are gonna be tired, so you should play like chill music, so for people to chill out to and relax to.
Essentially a cool down. Like I don't know if
Yeah.
you've ever been to the gym and like ran on a treadmill, but there's like a cool down mode on a lot of treadmills because it's supposed to like help you stabilize your pulse.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the idea that he becomes too addicted to just like chilling out to the point of killing himself, which was actually it was a cry for help. Like he's telling you, like he's so under so much stress from his family, he tries to freeze himself to death.
Because he literally took the term "chill out" literally, and he tried to go to like the freezer to like literally chill out. But I like how the episode like they kept you just keep hearing the voice of a guy saying "chill out," and it's like there's a point where Eddie is like walking around and be like, "Oh, those people over there playing chess, they're chilling out, chill out. Hey, those birds over there, they're just hanging out." Chill out. Like just keep going on and on.
I like later on, like every now and then it'll just show like if it shows someone kind of relaxing after doing something hard, it'll just say chill out.
Yeah. Which is a good callback to the episode. And after that you meet the author, and what I thought was pretty interesting about the author is that you actually see the author at AG's first gig. Like there are points of the episode where it actually kind of zooms in on him, and at first I was like, oh, why does it keep zooming in on this one guy? And it's because like he's actually important later on, because he was like the one who wrote, like, gave a review of Edgy's first show, and he praised him and like said good things about him, and you learn that the author is he's really good at making people like him, because like I think while he was eating at AG's father's Tonkatsu shop, like the father was like, I don't really. I guess he was trying to get on his father's good side, so he was like, "Oh, hey, look at this baseball thing. You like baseball? You want this baseball that's autographed and shit?" And then
this baseball player's rookie card that I have autographed. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then he talks to the other people in the shop, and every person like he talked to like actually likes him. And at first, I was like, "Oh man, I kind of hope the author doesn't turn out to be like a bad guy, or like a dick." Yeah. Because like I feel like that's what people usually do. Like they get people to like him so they can like take advantage of him and all that. But it turns out that he's actually a really cool guy. Like at the end of the episode, he like gives Edgy some good advice about like it's okay if you mess up. Even the best DJs out there mess up. Just improve upon it. And here's a book that I wrote about DJing. This could help you out as well. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, he's highly charismatic, which is like what everyone wants to be. Is like him.
Yeah.
When they introduce him at the end of that episode, I kind of realized that the show does have like one flaw, and it's not a negative flaw or a good flaw. It is a flaw. Is that the show is it's a good reminder that the show is a comedy show, because like no one really has a negative trait. Really.
Oh, yeah.
No one has a negative trait except for a character that we'll talk about coming up, and even then that gets misconstrued as a positive.
And I think the last thing I want to say about the author is that he makes a good point where Edgy, even though he's like a young kid, his taste in music is pretty interesting, because he likes to play like the old school tracks instead of like the newer ones, or like especially like the EDM stuff.
Right. Yeah. And then that kind of comes back in the following episode, because he gets a gig that doesn't go well. Like it doesn't go well, and his old school sound is kind of like a no-go because it's the EDM crowd. Yeah. And you're introduced to a new DJ who is like the EDM prince from Seoul. He's a Korean DJ. And which I really like this episode because AG learns like you have to be yourself. Like you can't
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
you have to play things that you like. You don't force yourself, which is it's true. Like you can't don't like everything because everyone else likes it. You gotta stay true to yourself and don't don't fall in line. Otherwise, you'll just be like any of these other schmucks.
Yeah.
uh, and I really liked that episode a lot as that kind of like a learning point. Like because we also get to learn that so AG learns that he doesn't really care that much about EDM, but he goes to a Korean restaurant that's I think just up the road from his, or just a block ahead of his family's restaurant, to see like, oh, this is what's popular right now, this Korean place. That's why we're not having we're not that busy. And he goes in there and he while he's there, he hears something called Pyongjok, which I had to do some research on this. So Pyongjok is an onomatopoeia in Korean, and it refers to the genre of trot, which is kind of a Korean pop music genre. And it's called trot because it kind of has a bounce sound to it. Like it's in twos. If you listen to it, it's very bouncy. And I thought that was really, really, really interesting. And then he combines Pyongjok in his next set, and it becomes the most popular thing. Like he blows people's mind, and it touches Myung. Is like, oh, this reminds me of my childhood, and like him eating what was it, him eating something. I think it was like was it kimchi?
Yeah, I think it was kimchi.
Yeah, I want to say like it reminded, and he gives him kimchi as a gift, like of helping him remind him of his love for Pyongjok or trot music. Yeah, and so in the next couple episodes, you start to see more and more DJs. So Myung was the first, and then the second set of DJs are known as Amakala, which is kind of I think a pun on sweet and sour, because one style they're a group of DJs, and one style is more like I think a little bit more generic, which is the sweet. It's kind of stuff you'd hear on the radio, and then the other ones is more very specific and kind of out there, which adds to it. But they choose these songs that are very that are unique to, or they create these songs that are unique to them as a group. And and then AG learns that he doesn't really need a variety to be great. He kind of just learns to find his own taste, which kind of builds on the back of the previous episode. But you also find out that that they have some sort of relationship with the journalists. Like I think that I don't want to say he's their manager, but he has written a lot of articles about him, so they owe him like a bunch of favors.
I thought that the whole two girls sets was pretty interesting. That was like an interesting idea.
Yeah, it was pretty different. It kind of gave me like that Daft Punk vibe, because they're the only DJ that, or the two DJs that kind of work in tandem like that. I have no idea how hard that actually is. And as the series goes on, you finally run into DJ Ikensuke, who's known as the newcomer killer, and he's like the very, very first person to kind of be seen as an antagonist, but quickly becomes a friend. AG doesn't realize that he's known as the newcomer killer, and he thinks that everything that this guy's doing to him is to push him, and so all he does is that he pushes him to succeeding, and he becomes a better DJ. Like he stands like right behind him, and like he's giving like the death stare. uh and that pressure reminds him of his own father watching him prepare food, and he's like, I can't screw up, and so he goes even harder than he normally does. And he thanks them. He's like, "What the fuck? I wasn't trying to help you." And then he avenges. Then that DJ, he invites Eiji to Ikebukuro, in order to like crush his dream, because he hangs out with a bunch of old hip hop heads, so they're very very picky. But Eiji just blows them out of the water. He learns like to use like the EQ and stuff, which is he learns like, oh, if I go somewhere else, I'm gonna have to like learn like what's popular here, like which kind of works to his advantage, because he happened to stop by a different tonkatsu shop, and he realizes when he's talking to the tonkatsu chef, he's like, oh yeah, this is the style of tonkatsu that's really popular in this area. These people like it this way, versus like, you know, that way. And he applies that to his DJ set, which I think he just adds more bass to this music. And like it makes all these group of people like in their stomachs like start dancing. And all this DJ that Ikensuke, he's just pretty much like, oh, he gets bullied by his friends to be nice to this guy. To Eiji.
So like the next 2 episodes, it's about Eiji trying to help out Oily, because he feels like Oily should have like his time to shine. So he kind of has this idea to like put on like a regular event or something called like Large City, where like he's gonna have like a bunch of DJs, all the DJs he met up in the past, to play at the show, and at the very end of the show, Oily will play his set and end the show that way. That'll be like his time to shine. And that whole time, you you see them like setting up the venue, like setting up the show, and then it turns out that stuff is going pretty bad, because Eiji is the first one to play at the show, but everyone else, the rest of the DJs, are taking forever to show up because there's like a snowstorm, you know, and Eiji's job is to keep on playing until like the other people start arriving. So they're dealing with all that, and then like Oily had the brilliant idea to give out lard to the people who comes to the show, so like they can eat it, because why not. And then what do you call it, and then I think Eiji like started making like soup for everyone, because it's cold outside, so people will eat the soup and like warm up and all that. And then after all that, always finally plays a show, and he kills it. He does it pretty well. He starts like playing it his own way, and then that's how, after that, that's pretty much the whole show ends just like that.
Yeah, it just ends. It makes you want more, but unfortunately, they didn't make a second season. They did make a movie though. They did make a movie. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I kind of want to watch it now after watching this.
Yeah, I like when this show ended, I was like, is that it? Like, is that how was that how it's gonna end? And like, you make a good point, like, yeah, it makes you want more. So after all that, overall, what did you think about the show?
I really liked it. I would recommend it to anyone who likes comedy or music. It reminded me of one of my favorite animes, Beck Mongolian Chop Squad, just in the sense that the characters are the same. They've learned about something and they want to do that. I really liked it. I didn't like how it made me feel I needed better friends, and it made me realize that some people probably have a mental illness. And maybe help them seek treatment.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but a kid going to the freezer to chill out, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Yeah, that's definitely not a cry for help. He lined himself up with a bunch of pigs.
I overall, I really like the show as well. I remember watching a bit of it before, but I actually want to like watch it again. I really liked it because again, like I thought the concept of being a DJ was always interesting, so I always wanted to watch something that kind of talks about it. And they talk about it in the show, and they make it pretty fun to learn about stuff that you need to know about uh being a DJ, because like the characters they're all funny, and like the way like edgy kind of like references food with DJing. He goes back and forth between those, and that makes it easier for you to understand the whole DJing process. And yeah, and the music as well. The music's really good. I really like that rainy song. Um, and yeah, overall, like I said, I really enjoyed the show. If you're watching right now, guys, thanks for listening to us talk about the show. Tell us what you think in the comments, and remember, if you like this video, remember to give it a like and everything. And yeah, see you later, everyone. Take care.